set to sofa is where it's at. And Lulu, darling, just loves the chat. She talks to stars with grace and style. Lulu sure will make you smile.
Hello, my lovelies, and welcome to From Set to Sofa with Lulu, and I'm Lulu. Well, my lovelies, today's guest has sent me tumbling down a wonderfully nostalgic rabbit hole, all the way back to those heady days when we were young, ambitious, and absolutely certain the future was ours. And just look at us now, still here, still fabulous, and considerably better at covering the cracks. The little lady joining me today certainly grabbed hold of her future and gave it a very determined shake. You may remember her as the delightfully frisky woman from those famous spray and wipe commercials, cheerfully squirting stains into submission and making housework look far more exciting than it ever was at my place. But behind that sparkling smile is a story with far more substance and considerably more passion. She stood her ground when the industry expected women to do as they were told. She rejected a notorious nudity clause and refused to take her clothes off simply to further her career. She went on to build a remarkable career across stage, television and film. But while audiences saw the glamour, the laughter, and the success, her private life held heartbreak few could have imagined. Yet she refused to let tragedy write the final scene. When the media frenzy descended, she didn't disappear behind closed doors. She faced it, spoke openly, and told her own story in her own way. Instead of fading into oblivion, she took the most painful chapters of her life and transformed them into something powerful by using her fame, her courage, and that wonderfully persuasive personality to raise millions of dollars for charitable causes. She became such a beloved part of Australian life that she was appointed a member of the Order of Australia for her contribution to entertainment and the community. Talking with her today brought back so many memories of our days together on The Young Doctors. We were a close little family, those girls, loving, supportive, and always ready with a cuddle, a laugh, or a piece of gossip between scenes. When I left, I missed them terribly. Now, unless you've been asleep during this introduction, you've probably guessed who is waiting on the line. So let's welcome the courageous, captivating, gorgeous, and occasionally rather naughty Paula Duncan, AM. Hello, Paula, and welcome to From Set to Sofa.
Oh, thank you very much. It's lovely to be here with you, lovely lady.
And I think the last time I saw you was after a matinee of Hamlet at the Riverside Theatre, and that was back in 1998.
It would have been. I think it was actually John Orchard's production, my ex-husband's production.
Now, that's pretty scandalous, so it's taken so long to catch up. But we absolutely are fixing that with a lunch soon with the gorgeous Joey Samuel.
Absolutely, I can't wait.
Yep. Now, before we begin, my producer, Ray, wants to have a quick word with you. Apparently, the two of you have a little television history of your own.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I've got quite a bit of history down television. I think a bit of a Ray of stuff.
Hello, Paula. It's Ray here. Cast your mind back 50 years to Wollongong, Win TV. And
You say the word.
You say the word.
That's right.
I was on the technical crew back then.
Oh, yes. There's been some very fun things about that. They actually brought that up on my This Is Your Life, actually, and they showed footage of that. It's hilarious.
Yeah, they were good days, weren't they?
Now, all right, you two, before this becomes your own reunion podcast, I'm taking over again soon.
Thanks, Paul. I'll catch you later.
Yeah, lovely to speak to you, Ray.
Anyway, Paula, your introduction to royalty came before your introduction to show business. You were only tiny when you presented a posy to the Queen during the 1954 Royal Tour. Do you genuinely remember it, or has the family told the story?
Oh, I remember the fuss about it. Because it was a big deal, because it was the opening of the Snowy River scheme.
Mm-hmm.
And the Queen was coming in to visit.
Right.
And it was a really big deal in Cooma. And I was born in Dodd's Hotel there in Cooma. And that's where she was visiting, Dodd's Hotel, which, of course, is very dilapidated these days. You wouldn't even know it was the same hotel. But it had this very royal staircase, which was stunning, absolutely glorious. And I remember being dressed up and whatever. And I remember all the excitement of the Queen coming to visit us. It was a very big deal at the time.
And then, at the age of about 3, you appeared as Kitty in So Evil, My Love for Lux Video Theatre. Do you remember anything at all about being in front of the cameras, or were you simply doing what you were told and wondering where the biscuits were?
I don't remember anything about that. No, I don't remember that at all. If I was dragged into anything in those days, it would have been because of my sister Carmen.
Mm-hmm.
Because she would have dragged me in as playing the little girl. I remember doing a lot of NIDA stage plays for her and coming onto the stage to be a support act in the theatre. But I don't remember that production, that one at all, which is interesting because I've got a pretty good memory. So, no, I don't remember that one. No.
Okay. So later you boarded at Santa Sabina College in Sydney's Inner West, where you first got the taste of the arts and drama. Did the nuns actually encourage that, or were you sneaking it past them?
Well, I started at Rose Bay Convent, where I was very happy and had some beautiful friends, and I'm still actually great friends with them. They're my kindergarten girlfriends, I call them. And then my parents didn't want me to be brought up in the pub life because they owned the Royal Oak Hotel at Double Bay, and the Royal Oak was just starting to be something. And, of course, there were people drinking outside the footpath and all of that, and they didn't want me open to any of that. So they sent me away to boarding school, in which I got out one Sunday a month. But I was stuck there with a lot of boarders. And that was the great thing about it. I got to travel to rural Australia and all the rest of it. But they were very sporty girls. So my besties were very, very sporty girls, and I was really into the arts. So I used to ask them if they'd run for me on sports day, and they would. And then I'd get dressed up in their fancy dress costumes or their costumes for the stage play and play their roles for them because I just wanted to be in the arts. So I was always busy organising the school plays while they were busy doing all the sports. Yes, but the Dominicans were renowned for the arts.
Oh, right.
They loved the arts. So they really encouraged us. So the Dominican nuns at Santa were very into the arts. So it was very encouraged. But I didn't need much encouragement because it was in me anyway. And, of course, I had my cousin Donald MacDonald, of course, who's written many, many plays, including Caravan and Best of Friends and all the rest of it. And he was my cousin, my first cousin. And then Carmen, being in the industry, my big sister. So there was a lot of industry around me. And I think my mother was a frustrated actor anyway. You know, she used to play the honky-tonk piano in the old days to entertain people in the bars and the pubs and do all of that. And so she was a natural at it. So I think it was always there. I can't remember when it wasn't there, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I understand completely. But you were initially considered too young or immature for NIDA. Then you gained a place, but left after 2 years.
Yes, I did. I wasn't accepted the first audition I did. And I went overseas with my parents and we travelled to London. And I studied in London with a woman called Petrus Mackay. And she helped me and she trained me. And I did a lot of work in London. So I auditioned to RADA and I actually got in. And so when I came back to Sydney, because my parents wouldn't let me stay there and I was devastated, it became a real rift for me with my parents. I really resented them because they wouldn't let me stay there and study at RADA in London.
Right.
And so I came back and then auditioned for NIDA back here. Well, I don't think they could say no once I'd already got into RADA. I think they felt a bit foolish then, so I think they felt that they needed to say yes, whether they wanted to or not.
Yeah, of course they would. RADA was huge. Brilliant. But look, by the time you landed Carol Finlayson in number 96,
Yes.
you were no rookie. A teleplay, Pirates of Penzance, This Love Affair, Certain Women, already under your belt. What was Australian television like for a young actress trying to establish herself in those days?
Well, it was very different. I mean, coming out of the security of Certain Women and Polly Me Love and all of those things with the ABC and the Pirates of Penzance, the ABC were very traditional and very carefully protective. And it was, plenty of time to do everything and whatever. And then I'm moving into the fast pace at number 96 was a big change for me. But I remember Bill Harmon called me into the office and said, no, look, you've either got to improve your acting or take your clothes off.
Yep.
And I didn't know that, so I got kicked out of the show. So,
Oh, my
I would
God.
take my clothes off.
Oh, how wonderful.
It's true.
So you refused, or?
I refused to take my clothes off.
Good girl. Good girl.
But everybody else was taking their clothes off left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
That's why I got kicked off number 96. And then after number 96, of course, then Young Doctors came about. And that wasn't very long after, they picked me up from that very soon after that, Lou, when I met you.
Well, that's right. Do you remember those corridor scenes where nurses were in the background and trying to look terribly, terribly medical?
Oh, yes. Look, I remember it so clearly. I can remember all our faces. I can remember the uniforms. I can remember the office that we'd go to for meetings. I remember all of that. And I remember we had our little tuck shop there in the front of the place there. We were there in North Sydney.
That's right.
In McMahon's Point.
Yeah.
Up there on Blues Point Road.
That's right.
And we were there in that studio. I remember that so well. And it was quite an amazing group of people in that year.
Yeah.
It was quite an amazing group of people, including yourself, who was always divine.
It was wonderful. And so many of those wonderful people have left us. Corny Francis.
I know.
Judy McBurney, Michael Beecher.
I know, the beautiful thing.
Johnny Walton, Gwenny Plum. Oh, so many of them.
Tony Alvari.
Yes. And Lynn James.
James.
Yes.
And Corny Francis.
Oh, darling Corny.
That's a woman that I miss terribly.
I bet.
Yeah.
Very close.
Always remember her on her birthday. I always contact her son on her birthday, but I do miss her terribly. She had a very big influence on me, actually.
Did she?
She was someone that really taught me an awful lot because I had a tendency to walk like a duck and have my head very high and whatever, as I'd walk around and she'd say, get that head down, get that head down and look at someone in the eye. You can't be working like that. I remember her giving me all this advice.
Oh,
and she was great with the screen because she just captivated it.
Absolutely. Oh, I remember that bucket of water I threw over her. We were so on the verge of laughing, we nearly ruined the shot. But we held it until the end, and then we collapsed in laughter, fits of laughter.
I know, such memories.
Now, you left the Young Doctors to play Detective Danny Francis in Cop Shop, and the role was created especially for you. How did that extraordinary opportunity come about?
Well, I actually went for an audition for a bisexual cop.
Oh.
And Hector Crawford saw the audition and said, we can't have her as a bisexual cop. She's got to play a cop. She's got to play a female cop. So they rewrote her and they wrote Danny Francis.
And Danny was very capable, intelligent and strong at a time when women were fighting for substantial roles on television. I mean, it was brilliant.
Well, and also women in the police force were being bullied. They were either expected to be really butch, macho, whatever, and no one would ever accept that anyone with any femininity could be a cop and a successful cop. But the truth is, there were so many women in there, and I had a massive fan club from the Victorian Police Force, the female force, really got behind my character because they thought that she was well represented.
How wonderful. I mean, that's marvellous. I mean, it ran for 582 episodes.
I think we're 682. I think you're very close.
Yeah.
And I think there was only 2 of them that I wasn't in.
Right. Wow.
Because I had an ovarian cyst and was rushed to the hospital. And the rest of it, when I came out, I picked them up. But I think there was only 2 episodes that I wasn't in the series. It was a bulk of work, though, because we were doing 2 hours of full television a week.
Yeah.
And while we were filming the internal and the studio stuff, then we'd go out and do the external stuff and all the outside broadcast stuff. And we'd be filming the 2 episodes ahead of us in the outside broadcasting stuff while we were actually filming inside the existing episodes of that week. So we had to really be on the mark with our lines and what we were doing. And, of course, we had 4 different segments. So we had the personal life, we had the soap opera life, we had the cop life, we had all the different lives. And, of course, you know, the soap opera life of the cop became as dominant as the cop's life on the set. So, you know, particularly those that were in the detective office and those, you know, like, you know, with darling Terry Donovan, who just passed away, of course. And so he came in the end, but George Mullaby was there to begin with. And then he left, and, of course, Terry Donovan took over. And we had beautiful Bill Stalker, who was killed on the job.
Oh, he was terrific.
And he was absolutely fabulous. And Peter Adams, who we've lost.
Yeah.
Tony Bond is still around. He was my first love affair in Cop Shop. I think my first love affair as a kid, actually. I used to adore him. I was mad about him. And I remember one day I flirted with him and wanted to take me off to the bedroom somewhere. And he said, "One day, little girl, you're going to thank me for this." And later on, years afterwards, I ran into him and we were at some function and everything. So I just want to tell you, I'm not thanking you for that, thanks very much. I really wanted that to happen. But anyway, so he was in it, of course, and Linda Stoner, who became my bosom cop on the show, and is still a very great friend. But the interesting thing about the Cop Shop group is that they literally were a real family. Like we were godmother and godfather to these other children. We adored each other on and off the set. We were absolutely devoted to each other. Those that have left of us, we still are. Joanna Lockwood, who played Valerie, is probably one of my very best friends in my life. And Linda and I are still very close. And Gil Tucker, who played Baker, you know, we're very close. And of course, John and I, even though we got married on and off the set. So we've been actually married 3 times, John Orchick and I, on and off the set. And also in a spiritual ceremony that I wanted to have at the time, which he didn't want to have, but he had to cope with that. So we did that, and we got back together again and remarried again after that when we got back together again after breaking up. But we're still very close too, even though we're not together. We're still very close.
Yeah.
So it's been a very amazing cast because we've never really forgotten each other and we've never left each other behind.
When you met and fell in love with John Orchick, was it instant chemistry, a slow burn, or did everybody else notice it before the two of you did?
Joanna Lockwood picked it and said, "I think you're going to be in trouble."
Yep.
And I said, "Oh, no, he's not my type," because he was, you know, drove this beaten up old Monaro and had gold chains around the neck and these extraordinarily tight pants. So, you know, he couldn't help but look down rather than look up half the time. He was, and he's a bit of a show pony. And he apparently said, "I couldn't possibly be with that woman that walks like a duck and acts like a duck." And had no intention of being there together. We got together arguing and we separated arguing and we're still arguing now.
But you're very close friends.
Yeah, we are.
I believe.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. Now, you became one of Australia's most popular television actresses and collected an extraordinary number of Logies for that show.
Yeah.
Did winning ever feel real, or were you always convinced somebody had read the wrong name?
Well, actually, I never wanted to win them because I was always nervous about making a speech.
All right.
And I remember the night I won 3 because I was up against Bert Newton as most popular lead personality. So I got most popular female personality, but of course I never won a gold.
Right.
So I won 7 silver, but never won a gold. And 2 of them are most popular lead personality. And I could never understand why I'd get a personality award when I was never really a personality. I was only ever an actor, so I could never kind of understand that. So they sort of turned me in a way to personality in their own way. I don't know how they did that. I think that was the media doing that because it certainly wasn't that I was a showpiece as a great personality on television, but that was 2 of the awards were definitely about that. One, of course, was Best Actor and 2 most popular lead actors as well.
Yeah.
And so there's 7 of them. So it was a successful time. But I remember at the Logies because I was in the toilet vomiting because I didn't want to go and receive the award.
Oh,
and I remember Rowena Wallace said, "Quickly, you've got to go out there. You've just won another one." And I said, "I've just won one." And they went, you're going to win another one. And I went, oh, no, not again. I don't have to get up there in front of everybody because I'm very, very much not a show pony at all. I'm not an introvert. I'm an extrovert by nature. But I actually don't like the limelight, even though it's been created for me. I'm actually not someone that, likes opening nights or glamour or any of that stuff. I'd much prefer to sneak into the theatre to see my mates in a play in the back row. I'd much prefer to just go to work and come home. I'm not really into all of that, which is interesting, even though people would have thought that I would have been because I was always there. But I was always there because of the popularity of Danny Francis, I think. And so, it was Danny Francis that really, the character that led me into community service, because she used to do all of this, and the Police Widows Association contacted me to see whether I would front their charity and work with them for all of the victims that had lost loved ones through the police force and everything. And so I got very heavily involved in that when I was in Melbourne in those days and got behind that. And that was my first sort of move into working in community service.
Right.
So that's an interesting thing. That's the thing that started that, yeah.
Now, when you were pregnant, the producers incorporated into Danny's storyline.
Yes.
How demanding was it to continue working through your pregnancy?
Well, it was actually really difficult because it was Linda and Stoner and I were both pregnant at the same time.
Oh, my gosh.
And her baby was born in April, Luke. It's her son. And mine was born in February. And we closed the show just before that, and that was one of the reasons the show folded. But the fact was that we had all this comedy going on downstairs, if you remember the series. Like, we'd have plagues of rats and spiders and God knows what else would go on downstairs. And they bring the real things in.
Oh.
And, at one stage, Linda Stone and I both very pregnant behind the desk, pretending we weren't, because we were in a uniform, pretending we weren't pregnant. We both wet our pants on set. We were laughing so much. We went hysterical. I think at this time was a plague of rats or something. And we absolutely get the giggles because they were so funny down there with Terry Norris playing Steve Sergeant O'Reilly and Gil Tucker playing Baker. I mean, they were a hilarious duo. And so that's so that the Cop Shop series had the comedy going downstairs and then they had the drama upstairs. So we go from the comedy to the drama that was going on upstairs, the serious stuff. And then we go home and cry with all the soap opera stuff. So it had so many elements to the show.
Yeah.
But, being pregnant, we were actually in uniform. No one knew. Well, they just tried to disguise the fact I was pregnant until it got to the stage in the end that Danny Francis had a baby. But Danny Francis had the baby before I got pregnant. So I was actually just pregnant when Danny Francis actually had the baby on the set.
Oh.
And when Danny Francis had the baby on the set, it was a baby girl. And ironically, I had a baby girl.
Oh.
And that was the last episode of Cop Shop.
Right.
And funny enough, Lisa McEwen and I were talking for quite a while after that. She wanted me to come in to play her mother, thinking that I could possibly be in Blue Heelers.
You're right.
Baby Lisa McEwen.
Yep.
So we really wanted to tie that in, and they wouldn't accept the storyline, and we thought it was a fabulous storyline because they would have had all the old footage.
Yeah. Yeah, that would have worked brilliantly.
It would have been fabulous because they could have, reflected and we could have gone back in time and whatever, and I think it would have been a great sort of storyline. We just put it as a one-off thing, catching up with the mother.
Yeah.
But, Lisa and I had that all set up, but no one would buy it. I don't know why, but they didn't.
Ah, well, the powers that be, let's face it. But your daughter, who was born after, Jessica, followed you and John into the industry as an actor, director, teacher and producer. When she announced that she wanted to enter into show business, did your heart swell with pride or sink with terror?
Oh, terror.
Yeah.
I didn't want her to do it at all, but she was absolutely born for it.
Yeah.
And she knew it all her life. And she played a boy in Home and Away when she was very young. She came into Richmond Hill when I was in that. So she played a couple of characters when she was really young. And she's very intelligent, Jess. She's quite wise, but she wasn't wise enough to skip the industry.
Gotcha. Now, after Cop Shop came the pilot of Matthew and Son with Paul Cronin and a very, very young Nicole Kidman. Any theories on why that one never went to series?
No. Never really knew why. when I first left Cop Shop, I actually went straight into Prisoner, playing Lorelei Wilkinson, and Jess was at home as a babe.
Yep.
And I was still breastfeeding, and I had postnatal depression.
Right.
So going into, from this lovely show called Cop Shop, where everybody loved each other on and off the screen a bit far too much, going into Prisoner, where, of course, all the women, the characters are so nasty, and it was all the nastiness going on, and a lot of that's infiltrated because nobody saw daylight anyway. It was such a shock to me, and I remember being quite down. And then after Prisoner, that's when I was cast in that role, Matthew and Son. And funny, I saw Nicole Kidman and I thought, you're absolute star quality. Like I picked her and won, like in a minute, that she was star quality. And my character was Barbara in it. And it was fun. It was really good fun, actually. It had great potential, that.
Yeah.
But, I don't know why it didn't go. We never knew, you know.
What a shame.
It was one of the luck of the draws, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
But after 7 months in Prisoner, I moved out of Melbourne and then came into Neighbours. I went into Neighbours then and played Alan Dale's fiancée and then came out of that and then went into Home and Away.
Right.
And played Danny Minogue's mother.
Right.
And then after I played Danny Minogue's mother, I went from there into Richmond Hill with Maggie Kirkpatrick and Amanda Muggleton and all of that. We were all in that cast together.
Right.
There's like 16 series, really, that I've done. And then I did Paradise Beach in the Gold Coast as well. I was in that with that. I did Matthew and Son. I also did Mother and Son, which was another series, which was the one with Bruce Cracknell playing the real estate agent.
Oh, yes. Very funny.
So I had a body of work that never seemed to stop.
Yeah.
Consequently, not good recipe for being a great mum because I wasn't around a lot.
Oh, I'm sure you were.
No, I wasn't. I've got a lot of regrets about that, to tell you the truth. But she's fine about it now, but I think there's many times that she fought because I don't know if you know that John and I got together way back.
Yes.
He had a de facto relationship with a woman called Maggie,
Yes.
who was actually Mike Walsh's assistant.
Right.
And she had rheumatoid arthritis, and in those days it was never a cure or anything for rheumatoid arthritis, you know. It was only liquid gold and everything, and they couldn't heal it in any way, shape or form. And eventually she actually died in my arms.
Oh.
And I took on her son, and I wrote a book called The Mother of My Son,
Yes.
which was a top seller in 89. It's very much like a Beaches story a little bit, maybe tune into a bit of a beach story, stepmother. And it's the story about, you know, how despite everything, Maggie and I joined together for the love of this boy. And John and I split up. And the boy himself, who was only here staying here this week, is now 50. And he's like my son.
It's wonderful.
So I was told I couldn't have children, so Jess was a miracle. And so I'd had this son, and so the son took a lot of emphasis in my life because he was the baby that I was never going to have.
Right.
So Maggie died. She asked me to look after him, so I did, and I'm still there as a surrogate mother for him.
That's marvellous.
Yes, he was only 2 when he first came into my arms, into my life.
Yeah.
And she died, you know, a lot longer after that, but she died when he was a teenager. Yeah, so I really got 2 children, really, in a way. You know,
One boy and one girl. Pigeon Bear.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, the 2 of them are very, very bonded. They're very, very close.
That's marvellous.
They're very united. I used to always say, no matter what, stick together, you know. Stick like shit to blanket, the 2 of you. Don't ever leave each other.
Yeah.
And they haven't. And it's amazing. They'd never call each other stepbrother or sister. They always call each other brother and sister, you know.
That's gorgeous.
I haven't spoken like this for so long. I feel like this is like therapy session for me.
Oh. Well, this is marvellous too for me to find out what happened all those years, you know, that we were never seeing each other. But you never left the theatre. You never stopped.
Yes, no, I was always going in and out of the theatre because I still loved the theatre and always did. But I think I love film more. Yeah, I mean, I loved it when I was doing it at the theatre, but now I think I'm too old for it now. I think it wears me too long. It's exhausting. Yeah.
Well, it's exhausting, isn't it? Those 8 performances a week.
But I look at my beautiful mates like Belinda Giblin still out there doing a stunning job in the theatre, and I've got a lot of friends in the theatre that are still doing a wonderful job in there, and I admire them beyond comprehension, really. Yeah, I mean, I was very lucky to have a body of work like I did. Like, it's a lot, 16 series,
Yes.
and to be able to have that security. But in and out of that, I started to do all my charity work, and then I started to produce these events. And so then I did a marketing course and a PR course, and then officially became an event manager.
Yep, an event producer, I believe.
Yes, and I do. I produce my own events and market them and do the PR accordingly. And, nearly $16 million for charity now I've raised now through the years for different charities. And I'm involved in quite a lot of issues that are very big. And they're big issues. And some of them are not sexy. Some of them weren't sexy. So, they weren't always easy to promote or to get people to support. So I fought against a lot of issues along the way and a lot of people along the way to get attention for things that needed to be talked about and subjects that people didn't want to talk about. And my profile helped that a lot because people would listen to me. And to tell you the truth, I mean, the media can be sour, whatever, but the reality is that the media, in a very strange way, helped me. Because, if I wanted to get something across, I could get it across because they're busy trying to follow my private life. And I'd go, well, if you're going to do that, then I'll tell you all about what I'm doing. If you write about that, then you can have some more information because they wanted to know what I was eating for breakfast half the time and what I was doing. So, in a way, my profile definitely helped me build awareness for certain causes like suicide prevention, drought and flood relief. Working with people with disabilities, which I'm very renowned for, and things like that, whereas they're not necessarily sexy things to talk about. It's not like talking about children. A lot of people just don't want to talk about them. There's a subject that they don't want to talk about at all. And so I used to get it out there, and I've been able to get it out there, I think, because of the amount of work that I've had within the television industry and visiting everyone's lounge room night after night after night after night.
It's a wonderful thing, your philanthropic pursuits. It's just been amazing. And reading about it, when your beloved sister Carmen died, you transformed your grief into action through Women Can,
I did.
the Australian New Zealand Gynecological Oncology Group, and the Paula Duncan Memorial Fund.
Yes.
Did having a purpose help you live with the pain of losing her?
Well, it gave me something to hold on to.
Yeah.
I didn't want her life to go in vain, and I didn't want people to forget her.
No.
And I didn't want people not to do what she should have done, because she left it too late.
Did she?
And she left it too late. Yes, she did, because there were signs and she didn't do anything about it. And as always, women tend to put everything else first and themselves last. And even though men won't go to the doctor for prostate, and that's why they end up with all sorts of problems because they always leave it too late. Well, women don't go and have their funny bits examined at all. They don't. They put it off and put it off and put it off. They've had enough. They've had all the premenstrual tensions. They've had all of the other issues in life. They've had menopause. They've had whatever they've had, and constant things going on in our bodies because our bodies are so complex. That they go, look, oh no, look, I'll leave that. I'll deal with that later. Well, of course, it's too late by the time they find it, particularly with gynecological cancer. So, in a lot of cases, it's too late.
Yeah.
And that's what happened with Carmen.
Yeah.
Because her vaginal cancer was rare. But, of course, there are 8 different types of gynecological cancer, and I never knew that when I started working in the organisation. It all came from, new to me because I've been working with the Royal Hospital for Women for years. I was with them for 12 years as their ambassador. So I was working with women that couldn't have children, wanted to have children, lost children at birth, cancer, all sorts of issues, but never really discovered what was going on with gynecological cancer.
Right.
But I was there at the hospital. I was with Wesley Mission for 10 years, working mostly with homelessness, aged care services, and drought and flood relief and those issues, mostly homelessness. And I got an award for that.
Yes.
I got a Spirit of Mission Award for that. And then I went into the Royal Hospital for Women after that for about 12 years. So I was in that. And then while I was doing that too, I was also involved with the suicide prevention program called Life Force, which educates the community on how to recognise the signs of suicide before it's too late and dealing with depression and all of that.
Yeah.
So the gynecological cancer thing happened 7 years ago because of Carmen. You're absolutely right. You've nailed that. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm going to do something about this. I'm not going to let this story go in vain. I'm going to make sure that women get it out there. So I do 2 events a year, one on Mother's Day and one on Thanksgiving Day. So if any of your listeners need to know, they can look it up and everything and go to the website of ANZGOG, ANZGOG, the Australian New Zealand Gynecological Oncology Group, and look that up. But I'm also working this year on an event called Are You OK Day, because that's on the 10th of September, and that's going to be very interesting. I've got a clinical psychologist working with me, with Craig Bennett's doing the interview, the fabulous Craig Bennett, and I've got Bianca Dye and Lethal Jones on the panel talking about depression and all of that, and opening that up because of the amount of youth suicides that are happening at the moment, particularly in the northern suburbs of Sydney. So I'm doing that, and that's on the 10th of September. So if anyone in there is listening to that, it's called Are You OK Day. If you know anyone that's got depression or anyone that might learn by this, we say come along and bring your mate on Are You OK Day and come to lunch and have great discussions. And I've got a true family story of a young couple that lost their daughter at 13 years of age who took a life, and they'll be talking as well. So hopefully the subject will touch the spirit, and we'll remind ourselves always to just check in with people. Because how often do we say to someone, how are you? And they say, I'm not that good. And you go, well, that's good.
Yes.
Because you're not even listening to them.
Heard that one before. Yeah.
So, that's good, you know. So that keeps me well and truly out of trouble. And I'm also the ambassador of volunteering. So I actually put together the Volunteer of the Year Awards every year. So I do that as well in December. And in October, I have the Focus on Ability Film Festival, which I run, which is, well, I don't run it, I market it, really. I'm their ambassador. And that focuses on the ability of people with disabilities. And the films are only 5 minutes long. And it's on, on the 18th of October at the concourse at Chatswood. It's the red carpet. It doesn't cost anyone anything to come along. But they come along and see these films, which are films made 5 minutes long of people focusing on the ability of someone they know, of someone with a disability of some kind. And the winner last year was a story about a beautiful father who was dying of brain cancer, and it was how the family worked up to that state of recognising the fact that he would no longer live, and the story and the progress of how that family coped. And it's in 5 minutes long, and it's the most moving film. So if anyone wants to look at that online too, that's focusonability.com.au. And if anyone wants to have a look at them, they're beautiful films to take in. And so, basically I keep myself very busy, Lou.
I know. Well, you're an ever-ready battery. I know. You've been described as that anyway.
I have been.
And you were named National Executive Woman of the Year in 1997.
I did.
Yep.
Now, that was because of collaborating corporate and business to get them to be aware of community service and to ensure that they would give back to the community.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just about their profits, it was about their responsibility to the community and what they give to the community. So that's what I got that for.
Well, again, in 2003, you were appointed a member of the Order of Australia for your contribution to entertainment and the community. Of all the honours, where does that one sit in your heart?
The biggest.
Yeah, I bet.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Because it basically focused in on the two things that my heart really, is so involved with and so wrapped up in, which are the arts and the community.
Yeah.
And I bring them together. So that's what I really think, and I've been able to do an awful lot because of my involvement in the arts, as I've said, and because of my profile within the arts, I've been able to do a lot. But my community have got to know me, so they've actually helped me in my fundraising through the years, and they've helped me by supporting the causes that I've done. And, there's probably one of them that would sync with one or either of your listeners, out of all of the ones that I do. I'm sure volunteering would definitely be something that, most of your listeners would do at their own time at some stage, particularly with depression, because it's the first and most important thing anyone can ever do is when they have depression is to go and do something for someone else.
Absolutely, yeah.
That is the first and foremost thing that we're advised to do if we're down and out and whatever. So, yeah.
You've certainly been very, very public about that. Your later marriage ended under deeply painful circumstances during a period when you were making strange bedfellows. And you have said that Paul Hogan and Michael Caton helped alert you to what was happening.
Yes.
How important were friends and colleagues during that crisis?
They certainly did. They told me not to read the Sunday Telegraph.
Yeah,
That was hideous. That was just an awful, awful, awful time.
yeah, yeah.
And of course, we didn't want the film to be upbraided by the story of Paula Duncan's love life.
No.
So, we're trying to push it away out of the media, but at the same time, we couldn't ignore it because it was everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it was terribly sad. The whole thing was awful. I really experienced enormous depression over that.
You said that you suffered a nervous breakdown.
I did, yes, I did.
I've been through one too, and I call it a breakthrough. I mean, it eventually became a turning point in my life, and I'm sure it did in yours too.
Yes, I've never thought of it that way, but that's a very good way of looking at it, Lou.
Yeah.
It was so tragic for me. Even if I think about it, I still get shivers. And I feel this terrible ache. It sort of lies just under the heart and where the esophagus is, and it sits there like this lump.
Yeah.
When I think of it, because it was so painful at the time.
Oh, I'm sure.
It was so painful. It was terribly painful.
And the way it was done too.
And it was exactly the same time, because I had to go into the media. So I had to go into the media and do all these interviews about the Order of Australia at exactly the same time when this was happening out there about my marriage breakup. And that's been my life too, Lou.
Yeah.
Very much a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Like when I did my This Is Your Life, it was the time that John and I split up,
Yeah.
which was devastating. And I was supposed to be going to a contro ball, which is how they lined it up for my This Is Your Life. That's what I was doing. And I wanted to get out of it because John and I split, but I couldn't get out of it.
Yeah.
And then they told me my mother wasn't well.
Yes.
But then my mother faked her recovery and went into intensive care ward. And out of an intensive care ward, she took herself deliberately so that I would go to this contro ball. But of course, the ball wasn't a contro ball. It was This Is Your Life.
Yes.
And so I had to do my This Is Your Life with John when we'd split up and my heart was broken.
Oh.
And my mother died that time, the morning after my mother died. She never made my This Is Your Life.
What a bittersweet moment.
Very much so. And the same as my Order of Australia. When it's something to celebrate and really, truly celebrate, I couldn't celebrate because of everything else going on.
Yeah. Now back to your career though. In 2015 you played Jenny Krillich in Hiding. What a cast, Paula.
With James Stewart, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was great. Absolutely fabulous. Had a wonderful time doing that. It was great. Great. Got very close to James Stewart through that time.
Did you?
Played his mother, yeah.
Yeah, lovely. Now, 2020 brought you a role as Angela in Unsound, a story involving deafness, identity, family and acceptance. Did the film allow your acting and advocacy work to come together? That was a very interesting role.
I don't know that, but did you see it?
No, but I saw little excerpts of it. And yes,
Right.
I was most impressed.
It was the bravest thing I've ever done in my life.
Wow.
This is where I played a woman that had no graces at all, that was so negative and so down on herself and life, and a hoarder, an isolated woman who just hated life and hated everything around her, which of course isn't me. And so I certainly wasn't typecast for that role.
No, you were acting.
It was challenging. So the reality was that I basically, spent the whole film with no makeup on at all.
Yep.
I couldn't look any worse if I tried. But it was a very interesting film to work on. And, of course, with the whole gender-based subject and dealing with deaf people and what it's like to be deaf and to express yourself. Yes, and my son was transgender, so it was all about that as well. So it was really interesting film to work on. Yeah, it was a great challenge.
And very, very complex.
Very complex. Yeah, well, very complex role.
Now, on Who Do You Think You Are, you uncovered stories involving convict hardship, the gold rush, and a mysterious family heirloom. Which discovery affected you most deeply?
Oh, dear, that's hard because I think probably the story that my great-great-great-grandmother was in the gold rush and she ran the pub.
Oh.
And she was a real larrikin because I used to always think that it was because of my father that they were in pubs because my whole childhood was pub life. Before the pub life, my parents were country people.
Right.
You know, took great pride in that.
Mm.
So I think that story, because she was a real larrikin and she ran the pubs herself in those days and stood up to the court of law and was a real larrikin of a woman. And I went, oh, my God, it's actually come from my mother's side. So it just
Wow.
shows me why we have such strong women in our family.
Uh-huh.
And I know where it comes from now.
And that's where you get it from.
That's where we get it from.
Wow.
You know, Who Do You Think You Are was the most wonderful experience.
Yeah, yeah.
I have to say, it's one of the most wonderful experiences, one of the best things I've ever done. It's fabulous. I had no idea. And, of course, you don't know what you're doing and where you're going and who you're going to see and everything else. And, of course, there's a beautiful story about the brooch in there that, you know, it's gone through generations. It's the 1800s. It's been passed down generations. And it's in my mother's family as a dead cousin on the other side of my mother's family.
Yeah.
And it's still in the family. And the brooch, we centre around the brooch and go through history to see who wore it and how it came about and where it is. I actually thought in the end I was going to get the brooch, so I was a little bit disappointed I didn't. But no, it was an amazing experience. That was just such a wonderful show to prove to you your own identity. You know, it was just like, my God, I do live. You know, my family are there. And, of course, I missed my big brother through that because I spoke about him, but they didn't mention him, unfortunately. It was edited out. But I missed that because I've lost two siblings this year, the last couple of years. I lost my big brother 8 years ago, my sister 7 years ago, and then my cousin last ago. He was like a brother to me. So I've had a lot of loss.
Oh, absolutely.
And Who Do You Think You Are sort of brought back, oh, yes, you do have an identity. And it goes back years and years and years. And you can look back into it and delve into the different reasons why you might be like you are and the different reasons why your parents were like they were and why your grandmother was like she was or your grandfather was like he was. You know, what a wonderful, wonderful series. Congratulations to SBS on that. I thought it was brilliant.
Absolutely.
Absolutely brilliant. I loved it. Loved every inch of it. I didn't want it to end.
Yeah, yeah. Now, with you, Carmen and Donald, your cousin Donald McDonald, and with the three of you, with so much creativity in that family, were you able to discover anything like that in Who Do You Think You Are?
Well, no, only the fact that, you know, that, as I said, my mother was a frustrated actor anyway, and she used to play honky tonks in the pubs to attract people. But Donald's family and the side of Dad's family, they used to play the piano in the pubs too, but they're all pub life people. So we all love pubs. And, of course, that the pub was in the old days where clubs are supposedly now. But in the old days, you'd always go to the pub if you were down and you'd always run into someone and there'd always be a free schnitzel on a Tuesday night or a sausage sizzle or something and you could get a feed if you couldn't eat and you'd meet someone there and someone would help you out. So really that would be the likeliness of that. I think that the joint thing that I don't know about the creativity except the fact that I think it was inbuilt in all of it. And I think it goes back. Yeah. But I think the pub thing is the big thing because that's where the community was. That's where the music was. That's where the entertainment was.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, so I think that's where that all came from.
Ah, yes, of course. I mean, it all comes together, really. It's fantastic.
It did.
Yeah,
it all come together.
On a lighter note, you were dared to appear on First Dates.
Oh, my God, that is hilarious.
Well, I know. I can imagine how hilarious it was.
It was so funny.
Now, was there ever a big flutter or anything like that?
That was terribly funny.
Yeah.
Actually, because it was being cast by a friend of mine at the time. And she said, would you do it? And I said, oh, well, I don't have to sleep with them, do I? She said, no, you just got to go to dinner. And I thought, well, I can go to dinner.
Yeah.
But we actually got on quite famously. But, I mean, you know, it was hilarious because the phone was on because Jessica was supposed to call in and that was part of it. So she was supposed to call in, but she forgot all about it. And she slept in because she lives in LA. She doesn't live here.
Yeah.
And so what happened is the phone was open. So my ex-husband, John, calls me with his partner and ends up talking to me on the phone through the date. Have you seen it, Lou?
I just saw it, yes. I saw it on YouTube. I thought it was as hilarious as well.
It's very funny. And so
Yeah.
John rang in not knowing that I was going on a date. And he's going, "You've got to go on a date. What are you doing on a date?" So that went on and everything. And, of course, my neighbour, who I call Mother, she rang in as well, and she had to speak to this poor guy and whatever. But in the meantime, we get the phone on for Jessica to ring, and she's the only one that didn't call in.
Yeah.
I mean, all these other people are calling in, you know.
Yeah.
So it was very funny. It was a very funny time. We did have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we did get on very well.
Yeah.
He went back to Thailand and he went overseas after that. And I think he found himself a lover and came back and got married or whatever. But anyway, it was a lovely place.
Yeah. Yeah. Bit of fun anyway.
Haven't you? You've certainly summed up my life today, darling heart. It's been amazing.
Oh, sweetheart, I've just loved going through your life. You've just, wow. What's on the agenda next then?
Well, I've got all these events coming in, as I mentioned to you earlier. So I've got 5 events between now and the end of the year. So that's keeping me very busy. Still auditioning. I'm actually the face of Trilogy Care, which is a home care package for people with disabilities or people that want to stay in their own home. It's a wonderful thing. It's a family company. I'm the face of that, so I do a lot of work in that direction too for aged care services.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty busy. I don't think I could fit much more in.
No, I'm sure you couldn't. I really am.
I still auditioned and just got tipped at the post for a job recently, which I was disappointed about. A horror film, actually, which would have been a bit of fun.
Yeah.
But, darling, so I think that's what I've got on. I've got, Are You OK Day? I've got festival in October. I've got the Thanksgiving event in November. I've got the Volunteer of the Year Awards in December. So that will keep me totally off the street and out of trouble.
Well, I just hope that once in a while you put your feet up on the sofa, really, and just have a relax.
Oh, I really do. I do have a rule. I don't work on a Sunday.
Oh, good. Good. Excellent.
I take time out on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And I do, Lucy. I do find time to do it. I work for myself, really, and even though I do so much voluntary work, so a lot of my work's not paid for.
Of course.
So a lot of it's voluntary. But,
Yeah.
Look, it's so rewarding, Lou, and I say it's not
know.
because I'm a wonderful person. It's really not. It's just because it helped to keep my self-esteem up there. And, I think that's been a very big part of it, that, it kept my self-esteem,
Yeah.
my level of that, and I feel very honoured to be doing these things and to see the results of them and to see the progress of what I've done.
Yes.
And to sit back and go, wow, I really did.
Make a difference. That's what you've done.
Well, I know, but that's one of the things, but I try not to use that sometimes because everyone uses it. But the reality is I do hope that I have really significantly changed a lot of points of view, changed attitudes with people with disabilities. I do hope I've changed the way people operate towards people that have depression or are not coping and whatever. And I do hope that I encourage people to volunteer because it's very good for them.
Yes.
But it's very good for the people, the recipients, but it's even better for them.
Yeah.
And I do hope that people appreciate our industry because our industry does so much more. It provides a slice of life for people to witness. It provides an inward thought process for all of us. It gives us a chance to explore human nature and to explore the different facets of life and the different careers we all do. And the arts give so much back to our community. And I'm so proud to be a member of my community, and I love animals a lot too. I didn't mention that, but I do love animals.
Yes.
But lately there's been a lot of losses, because Darren Hinch was a very close friend of mine as well. So, there's a lot of loss that's gone on over the last couple of months, which has been a bit horrible for me. But, again, the losses don't, they can pick you up a bit, but then you just realise, well, while I'm here, I've got to make the most of what I'm doing and make the most of how I live. And please God, I've made something for somebody else well worthwhile than what it was before I came in.
Yeah. Well, Paula Duncan AM, you have entertained Australia, inspired Australia, and worked tirelessly for people who needed a voice. It's been such a joy having you here on From Set to Sofa, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
My pleasure, Lou, and I thank you and congratulations on your show, and I'm thrilled you're doing this. There's a lot of people like me have got the chance to be heard, which is fabulous, and also a lot of people got a chance to reflect, which is what you've given me the opportunity to do, to reflect on my past and to look at it all, because we don't always stop and smell the roses. We don't always stop and go, what have I done? What's actually happened in my life? But it is pretty much a whirlwind and certainly a roller coaster, and it's certainly a fulfilling life. It's been a very fulfilling life, for sure and certain. And people like you that give us the chance to be heard remind us that it's been worthwhile. So thank you very, very much.
It certainly has, my darling. And I look forward to that lunch with Joey.
Yeah, me too, gorgeous.
Okay.
Bye, darling.
What a woman. You can see why they called her an ever-ready battery. A member of the Order of Australia for her contribution to entertainment and the community. So much tragedy in Paula's life, and the way that she turned her sadness into doing so much for others. What an eye-opener it was hearing that Paula had anxiety when she was accepting her Logies. It just shows you that she was far more interested in the work than the accolade, which is just like Paula. She wrote a book on blended families and adopted her stepson. I ask you, can you imagine coping with the loss of not only her marriage, also the loss of her beloved sister Carmen, and on top of that, the loss of her mother before This Is Your Life went to air? How terribly sad and devastating. But that was so interesting, hearing the discovery about her family tree on Who Do You Think You Are? So many strong women in her family DNA. I can honestly understand why Paula is as powerful as she is. I'm very glad we had a chance to remember so many of our cast members from the Young Doctors who have passed. So I can only wish Paula every happiness in her full and loving life. I can't wait to catch up with Paula and Joey for our long overdue lunch. Until next time, stay happy and mentally well. A bientôt.
Thanks for listening with an open heart. But now it's time for us to part. So tell everybody that you know to tune in next week to Lulu's show. From set to sofa is where it's at. And Lulu, darling, just loves the chat. She talks to stars with grace and style. Lulu sure will make you smile.